Some people win, some people lose. The game is over.
Amelia?
Oh, God.
The Bone Collector.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another classic film review. Today I'm taking a look at the 1999 serial killer movie The Bone Collector. The film is directed by Philip Noyce and it stars Denzel Washington, Angelina Jolie, Queen Latifah and Michael Rooker. Now Denzel Washington plays a character called Lincoln Rhyme. Who is a very, at the beginning of the film, was a very, very talented homicide detective. He's brilliant at tracking down serial killers, he's well written, and he, at the scene of a crime, is involved in an accident that turns him into a quadriplegic. Essentially, he is bedbound, and he's on the road to death, essentially. He's having seizures, and the future's not looking bright. But there is a new serial killer in town causing chaos, and Angelina Jolie, who is a rookie police officer called Amelia, thinks fast at a crime scene and saves some essential evidence. And Denzel Washington's former employees come to him for help to track down this serial killer. And Denzel insists that Angelina Jolie's character, Amelia, is brought on board so that she can be his eyes and ears at like a crime scene and he can talk her through the evidence, etc., etc. However, this obviously leads him on a collision course with the serial killer, who may well have more in common with Denzel Washington than he may realise. Right. What are my thoughts on The Bone Collector? Well, the 90s was a very, very popular time for serial killer films, mainly because of Seven. When Seven came out, it was such a popular film, and it was so brilliantly made by David Fincher. Every studio wanted their own Seven, if you like. So this is essentially what resulted in The Bone Collector. Now, Denzel, did a number of these films at the time, certainly in the 90s. He did Ricochet, which not really a serial killer film, but it was like an action thriller. Did Virtuosity, which was a futuristic serial killer with Russell Crowe. He did Fallen, which was like a supernatural serial killer film, and then he did The Bone Collector. Bone Collector is probably, it is the most grounded of the bunch. And it's a pretty gritty and dark serial killer film that I think is really, really very well made indeed by Philip Noyce. It's my understanding that Philip Noyce is not exactly a fan of this film. I think he felt it was just like at that time in the 90s, it was like a conveyor belt of serial killer movies, and his is just somewhere shuffled in the pack. He doesn't think it's anything special. And while I don't think this is in the same league as Seven, I think this is definitely a very, very watchable movie with an engaging plot, interesting characters, and a pretty good conclusion to the film. I think one of the main issues I used to have with this film, I'm not so sure if I feel the same now after rewatching it for this review, was I wasn't ever really a fan of Angelina Jolie's character in this film, Amelia. She always seemed unnecessarily, I don't know if grump is the right word, but she actually has a fairly interesting arc here in this film, from where she is at the beginning, because she wants to go on a completely different career path, and she feels railroaded by Denzel Washington, almost forcing her into this career path that she's not really that interested in doing. So you can understand her initial frustrations and resistance towards doing what she's being asked to do, whereas some might see it as an incredible opportunity and would seize it, whereas she kind of doesn't see it that way in the early stages of the film. But you can see her arc as the film goes on, but there's no denying it. There are moments in this film where she is particularly unlikable. But you could also say the same for Denzel Washington's character, Lincoln Rhyme. And again, you could completely understand the situation that he's in. He's not going to be, again, full of sunshine and rainbow. He's in a horrific position. He's a quadriplegic. He's having constant seizures. The next seizure could be the end of him, and he's looking for a way out, essentially. He's looking for a way to end his life. So he's obviously not in a good place in his headspace in this film. So when I was younger, when I watched this film, I always had a problem with these two characters because I always found them to be not particularly likeable, and I struggled to connect with them. While I still feel the same, that I struggle to connect with these characters, I understand far more and appreciate far more how these characters were written in this film. So I've got a much better and clearer understanding than certainly when I was younger. For me, I think there's some really good moments in this film. You know, the moments with the serial killer you don't get to see a lot. You just get to, a lot of it is hinted at, but it's enough to kind of give you the creeps. The crime scene investigation stuff that Angelina Jolie's character does with Denzel in her ear sort of thing are very engaging to watch for the most part. And it actually chugs along at a very, very tidy pace, this film. Before you know it, you get to the end of it. And obviously we have Denzel here in the lead, who is a remarkable actor now, and he was a remarkable actor then. I mean, at this point in his career, he'd already won an Oscar for Glory, Best Supporting Actor, and he was well on the way to getting his next one for Training Day. So, I mean, a stellar performance once again by Denzel Washington here. Michael Rooker plays the bad guy, as you would expect. He's like the captain. He's in charge of the police force. He feels like Lincoln Rhymes trying to steal his thunder sort of thing. So he's always pushing up against Lincoln Rhyme, all that kind of stuff. So he plays the slimy, you know, bureaucrat role very, very well. He's done it a few times in his career, and he does it kind of in his sleep. So there are some generic moments here and there in the film. There are a couple of tick box exercises, but I do enjoy it. And the reveal as to who the killer is, you could see it a little bit as an anticlimax. You know, it's not as if you're going to figure it out unless you've seen the film. But the reasonings behind doing it may well make sense, but there's no like clues or threads as to who it might be. Which it could be anticlimax, but I do like the conclusion to the film, how it plays out and stuff like that. It's a satisfying ending as well. Interestingly, I'll give you some names of people that were considered for the roles for Angelina Jolie's role. And you've got to remember, at the time in '99 when this came out, she wasn't what you would describe as a major star. So people like Demi Moore and Nicole Kidman names were being banded about to star in the film. And the role that Denzel Washington took on, who obviously was a name in the 90s at this point in his career, but there were three prominent names that were in the running for the role as well before Denzel Washington was cast, and that's Al Pacino, Harrison Ford, and Sean Connery. And again, each of them would have put their own spin and twist on it, but as ever, because Denzel Washington is such a great actor and he puts a great, great stamp on this performance and on the film, it's hard to imagine anybody else doing the film as well. So, yeah, let me know in the comments. Is The Bone Collector a film that you've enjoyed over these? If you've not seen it, let me know in the comments. And if you haven't seen it, I definitely would recommend you checking it out if you like serial killer films. It's I think one of the stellar ones from the 90s, but don't go into it expecting it to be in the same league as something like Seven. That's a film that I have reviewed on this channel. I'm fairly sure I gave it a 10 out of 10. It's a flawless film. It's not a fun film, but it's a flawless film in my opinion. And this, again, it's not a fun film, but there are some flaws and issues with the film. So thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.